volume should be on. We should be on again. Your resolution's really low tonight. That's interesting. Oh, there, it's starting to
Is
get
it?
better. Yeah, the light's better, by the way.
Okay.
Lighting's better.
Yeah, it's turned kind of far now, so
Okay,
hopefully
cool.
that's gonna
Let's
work.
see here. So I think we're up and running. Let me just double check up here. Go on my dashboard. Oh, holy crud! Holidays,
Perfect.
man.
Yeah, right.
Holidays. I am beat. I don't know about you, dude. I am absolutely beat.
It's definitely. I mean, for me, the shop was a little slow, and um, I don't know. It just seemed like everything hit at once, and then cleaning, and of course spending more than one day cooking because of Thanksgiving and all that stuff.
Got it. Whoa.
How was yours?
Uh, I
I
was
know
at
you
the
were
auto
busy
show.
at the auto show.
I did get to eat some food when I got home. That was about it, but it was pretty much it. What am I doing? I'm just like it's been a week and already we just don't know what we're doing anymore. I've just given up on.
Yeah, yeah, no. Well, so we took a week off for Thanksgiving, and we had little things happen, and even with this week, we had people scheduled, but of course, life happens, and
Yeah, unfortunately, Andrew Reigns got sick, and the Coyotes moving this week, and it's just like, oh well, we'll just go
yeah,
solo like we used to, no problem. Let me just move this thing over here.
no worries. But yeah, so
Oh,
episode 14 of Shooting the Shift, of course, starring no one.
starring
We're definitely not
absolutely
the
no
stars.
one. Yeah, no, Thanksgiving was good. I mean, I had a good time. We got home in time to eat with the ladies and my mom and everything. So
Nice.
yeah, and good to see my dog running around still. We were always like, Thanksgiving's been such a like automatic it's going to be terrible type of thing. So having nothing absolutely awful happen this Thanksgiving was fantastic. Because I'm sure you remember I died on
Yeah,
Thanksgiving. That was a long time ago, but that was fun.
yeah,
And then I've had I think
yeah.
two
No.
or three pets die on Thanksgiving, and then Mouse having his BS last time. I'm like, oh my god.
Uh huh. Yeah, you're just
But
like, can I get just a regular one?
yeah, I was, and
Just nothing happened.
I've always managed to never ever drive on Thanksgiving again. Like I've been in cars, I just never drive. And luckily, Don Brown, who did the auto show with us, drove, so I didn't have to drive on Thanksgiving yet again. So my life was in someone else's hands and not my problem.
Yeah, yeah. You like to just after that. That's one day no drive,
Right?
pretty
One
much.
day, no driving. How about you? What'd you guys do? First Thanksgiving as a
Uh,
couple, married couple.
yeah.
Excuse me.
Well, I mean, it was kind of like how most of my Thanksgivings have gone. Which most of her family are here. All of my family, other than my mother and my sister, are in Michigan. So
Okay.
all
You're
of
from
her family
Michigan?
are here. So no, I'm not.
Oh, okay. I was like, really? How did I
I
miss
was a
that?
military brat, so we were wherever my dad was stationed.
Got it.
But my parents are from Michigan,
Okay.
and but yeah, so we went to her parents' house and cooked and well, she cooked and everything, and I hung out and watched TV with her stepdad.
Got it.
So, and then we ate some good food, but she also made a whole bunch of cookies that I took to the shop the day before. Um, oh, speaking of which, that Tuesday, which of course is our day off, so last week, one of Fred's dogs died.
Oh man, that's rough,
So he
dude.
texted me, yeah, and I wasn't sure, which one, and he said the pug, and he has a pug named Smush, because of
Smush.
her face. And I was like, oh no, Smush died, and he was like, no, it was a new pug they had gotten that was a puppy, and
Huh.
apparently it was some sort of like neurological issue that pugs have, and it went into seizures and all this stuff, and
Oh man,
they at the vet and had to make a choice, and so Fred told me that, and I was like, all right, I'll see you Friday.
that is a rough choice. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm glad he's able to take off time. Like I mean, in general, it's good to be able to have that small amount of flexibility.
yeah, yeah. It's just one of those things where, like, especially with how well, I guess the last quarter of Fred's year has gone. Uh, things happen. It's just let me know, and
Right.
I will do my best by myself.
Hey, I have something to
Um,
talk crap about right now. So
ooh, I love it.
yeah, I finally got around to doing my final review of the Garmin solos, the Garmin's aim solos and all that crap for track time. And I wanted to bring up that I've been trying to point out how terrible the Garmin device is for like learning how to go fast because they call it a track optimizer or something like that, or with coaching. But
Oh.
I wanted to point out something. So you would think so if somebody said, "Hey, this device will help you optimize your lap and you'll go fast with it," right? What do you expect it to do? You expect it to help push you, right? Because obviously you can go
Yeah,
as
yeah.
fast as you're already going.
Go faster, brake later.
Right, go faster, not just do exactly the same thing. So I use this thing for a solid month now, maybe a month and a half, because I was really confused about how it's getting its data. So I finally figured it out after just kind of intentionally tricking it to see what I could get it to, tell me. And I found out that what it does, excuse me, is it takes your best sectors. It takes every track and kind of breaks it up into three sectors essentially, and it takes your best
Okay.
sectors and it just glues them together and says that's your optimum lap, right? But that's not actually coaching you. It's just telling you what you already did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't like where's the coaching part? The
it
coaching
has an
part is
audio component that tells you, oh, go in here, go in there. First off, I can't hear it ever in any car, and it doesn't really matter.
Well,
It's
yeah,
totally
I mean,
irrelevant. So I'm not going to beat it up too much on that. But like if you look on here, so I can take on like my fastest lap or whatever was that one. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. I'm gonna bring it a little closer.
maybe a little closer, yeah.
Yeah, so this is telling me that my optimum lap is a 142.2 after, working on all these opportunities as it calls them. So the opportunities are all the different like areas that it thinks, and you can see it gives me little graphs. It's really pretty and all that. But here's my problem with this whole system: is my optimum lap sounds like that's your fast lap, right? That's what you can do. That's the max.
Like potential.
Yeah,
Right?
potential. So this is the same car, literally a month later. It's 5 seconds difference.
Hmm.
Nothing was changed, and it'll again say what your optimum lap is, which is just my best three sectors glued together. So this actually drives me bananas because
Yeah.
that's such a misleading topic.
Well, like coaching is to lead you forward.
Yeah,
and all
not
that
tell
is
me what I
doing is
did.
telling you what the past did.
Yeah. So anyways, I just want to bring that up that I'm gonna just really be frustrated with this when I get to actually filming the video about it
Yeah.
because
Well, it's one of those things. Just like label it what it is.
right. This is a
Because
great
it's not.
video device. It's a great lap recorder. It's but it's $1,000.
Yeah.
It's $1,000, dude. Like
Well, I mean, like all of Garmin's stuff back in the day was never the cheapest, anyways.
No, but
and I can't say it was the best because I mean now our phones do a better job than most.
so
of the
more or less that thing is just recording the same stuff that Track Addict is doing and then just displaying it with pretty graphs. And it's just it's real
Yeah.
frustrating to see people throwing $1,000 at. Now, on the positive side of it, if you just bought it just for like the sake of having good camera, like it's an amazing like just recorder for your day, and it does great with overlay and it's fantastic on those sets of things. But it was just really frustrating to me that it didn't go any further than that for $1,000.
Well, yeah, I would expect like if they were trying to do a telemetry based coaching, that it would have something in it where it was like, okay, this is the corner, and this is the max G that the car achieved on a corner, and how much of that corner was actually held around that G,
Right.
and then it would be trying to
You
estimate at what you could do,
right, and that's
based
what
on what the car's capability is.
right. So it's not actually looking at the car's capability at all. It's just looking at the raw data that's being produced from whatever you're doing. So if you don't do it, it will never push you to do it.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
that's where the
it's
Apex
a,
Pro just kills everybody there.
What is it? Everyone deserves a trophy.
Yes, yeah. I mean, so I think for like a beginner or like someone who's really entry level, it could build some consistency, but it's never going to push you very hard, which is frustrating because I think that's what it was kind of misleading about the whole thing is that it's pushing you to go faster, but it's really just pushing you to be consistent, which I don't know, just seems like. Anyways, off that tangent. So yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about, which just happened this morning, which is happens every year. I know you're not the biggest F1 follower, but Ferrari is yet again switching team principals yet again.
Yeah.
I think in 2019 was when they switched from Maurizio Arrivabene to Matthias Binotto. Matthias has been there for 28 years. That's yeah. And
Wow.
and what's interesting is like Ferrari has this kind of culture of where they kind of, if you're not getting results done, you blame someone and you just change it up and you keep going until it just works. Which
Yeah.
Matthias has been very much not doing that. He's been very good about making decisions. Like he supported letting go of Sebastian Vettel and Raikkonen because he's like, we need fresh blood, which is typically not Ferrari. They usually go for older, more experienced folks. So that was a huge statement to actually change. Mike, by the way, they're developing Android, it looks like. So stay tuned on that. That's my only letdown for Apex as well, although it was a really easy fix. I just got a small, crappy Apple device, and I've never looked back. But yeah, so Ferrari changing yet again when they were so close, because arguably this year was the closest they've ever. They had the car this year. They had the car. They lost this championship based on majorly strategy. The car could have done it. It had some reliability issues, but overall, so did Red Bull. Red Bull had like 3 DNFs in the first like 6 races, so they had more reliability issues, honestly. But
Yeah.
they had more strategic errors than anything else, and I think 2019 they were closer to the championship by points, but that was based on everything being perfect. This time they made so many mistakes and still had a chance, so it was interesting to see. And so they're letting this guy go, and he resigned technically. He did resign, and that's only probably because behind scenes they said, "Hey, we're gonna get rid of you soon, so get your shit together." And he probably went,
Yeah.
"I'm out. See ya. Bye." He's obviously very valuable to other people in the field. I'd be shocked if he doesn't pop back up in the paddock someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what a strange thing, huh? After Harrison, what about the?
Yeah, I mean, 28 years.
It's a long time to be committed to the Scuderia, let alone F1
and
or anything.
I mean, granted, the other thing too is he's trying new things.
Right.
So he's not just someone who's like, well, this one strategy should get us there because
Yeah.
it got us there 28
No,
years ago.
arguably he was doing the most. He was trying literally everything. They were revising everything all the time. They were very much not doing the pointing of fingers thing again anymore, like they have been in the past. And they arguably made more progress than they've ever seen in a long time. Because I think, what was it 2020? I think they were like 6th in the championship, and now they're number 2 again. And they still beat Mercedes, which is, that's a achievement period, regardless of how bad their struggles were down at Mercedes. They still beat Mercedes, and up until the summer break, it was going to be battles to the end, but strategy just absolutely wild.
Well, what was some of their like big strategies that you think?
Man, they did some weird pit changes. They put them on the wrong tire that was clearly the wrong tire several times. Sometimes the pit crew just wasn't ready. They called people in at the wrong times when obviously their competitors weren't doing it. It was just all across the board. It was like I said, I really think they lost this on strategy.
Yeah, I mean that could be one thing where he was changing too much constantly.
Yeah, it could have been the other direction too, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like both the drivers were pretty comfortable. You didn't see a lot of team orders or anything like that. You didn't see a lot of franticness from the drivers, at least. But at one point, I remember though the drivers were making the calls on pit because he was like they were letting them make the calls because the strategy team did such a bad job that they just said, "Do you want to come in now? Do you want to come in now, or is this a good time? How's it feel? Are you ready to come in? We're not sure." And that was interesting to see. So I thought it was just interesting to see them changing yet again. That's a pretty big change,
Yeah, no, I think that could be one thing that probably played into it was, I guess if he was doing way too many changes that weren't working at all.
Sure. Yeah,
Cause,
I would love to hear what happened. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that last conversation at Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Mike had a question about, after our F1 story, what about the AM dash loggers? Mike, I sell those, and I also sell the AIM products, and I generally use the AIM products 99% of the time, unless the owner has some affinity towards it. The fit and finish is just much better on the AIM products. The dash is nicer. The screen is nicer. The ability to use AIM sensors, in my opinion, is nicer because the AIM sensors tend to be more reliable than the AEM stuff, and they're pretty reasonable price.
To use the one that I got from you for the project we're doing.
Oh yeah, you haven't put that in yet, huh?
No, I'm finally like we're getting a little bit more caught up and getting cars out of the way, so I hope to start working on that truck soon. But I'm really anxious to see because like obviously the picture on the box looks great,
Right.
but it's once it's actually in and everything's working, and I like that we went with the GPS speedo
Right.
that you were talking about and everything, and I mean when you were talking about the sensors too, it all just makes sense where.
It's just so easy to add stuff with CAN bus based systems, and since they just make so many easy, convenient things, and you basically just order the sensor and whatever thread pitch you want. You want it M6? Do you want it NPT? What do you want? You just order the sensor, and they have massive ranges. I'm about to add brake pressure to mine. That's my next thing.
Oh,
Was
that'd
the
be cool.
dashes seem to sell with the wire button. Don't want it to go ham on the body harness. I limit myself to engine. I want to limit myself to engine harness for custom. My concern was the dashes seem to sell with the wiring block and don't want to go ham on the body harness. Oh, so the AIM and the AEM are both CAN bus, Mike. So you don't have to use the entire harness. The harness that comes with the AIM is mostly for inputs. So you have a ton of inputs to hook up a AIM dash to a. I'm assuming this is for the S2000. On the S2000, it is a CAN bus computer. You can get some CAN bus functionality right off the computer. If you're using like a Flash Pro or something else, it's a little bit better, or K Pro.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's going to be exactly the same in that sense. They both use CAN bus. So any data that's on your data stream from Honda will be mostly available. The thing I've seen on, I'm not sure on the S2000. I don't think it's a problem on early OBD2, and this would be the same on the CD.
Because his
on the
is
CD.
an 08.
Yeah, his is newer. So the early OBD2, like the 9142 and the 2000 JWPs, there's a severe delay on the stream speed, so everything would be delayed and just be really choppy. But I think anything 05 and newer, you should be on that because that's using the newer CAN bus. Jim asked about stricter gateways. There are a ton of configurations available for AIM. They cover most vehicles. One of the ones that's the toughest, though, is Chevy. Chevy has some really limited PIDs. There's a lot of workarounds for the Corvette and the Camaro specifically, but everything else you have to write coding for. And again, that's the same on all of the different dashes. They all have these problems with certain cars, so it is good to check compatibility. You can always ask us, or they have a good list on their website as well.
Yeah, I mean, I will say as for like an AEM kind of thing, like it for at least for me and the AEM stuff that I've played, it just kind of seems that they have gotten to a point where they're like, our name is there, and then
Right.
the rest of it they just kind of
Right.
keep with whatever's cheapest to make.
Right. So, like, if you're doing the K24 swap, Mike, you're going to be running K Pro. If you're running K Pro, then there's a direct harness that goes right to the AIM dash, and it dumps all the data on there. If you're going to use the factory ECU, that's a little bit more limiting. But yeah, if you're planning on using K Pro with a K swap, anyways, you're going to be right as rain, or any
If you're
standalone.
not planning on using K Pro with a K swap, I don't know why you're not going.
Right. I'm assuming you're going to have some sort of K Pro or some sort of a standalone harness or
Like
standalone
Flash
ECU.
Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your CAN bus will be virtually unlocked. You won't have to worry about too much. Yeah, if you're going to use the Infinity, you can use the AIM dash directly to it, and you'll have a lot of data accessible. The other thing I like is the backend the graphic backend in terms of setting everything up for the AIM. I find is easier than the AEM. Takes a bit of getting used to, but making custom sensors, for instance, is really easy. So I was able to do like my fuel gauge really easily without a lot of work. I just simply I measured the voltage with the fuel tank empty, measured it with it full, and then it draws a nice straight line down the gauge, and then boom, there we go. I got a gauge that works. So the to answer Jim's question, the CAN file is all built in. They come with, again, there's just tons and tons of files already. So I very rarely had to write a file for it. I think out of 5 years, I think I've written maybe 1 or 2 files. They have coverage for just about everything, and most of the people who are doing this kind of stuff are using an aftermarket ECU anyways. So once you're an aftermarket ECU, yeah, there's really nothing to worry about.
Very nice.
Okay, so
Well,
moving on. Thank you for the questions, those guys.
The auto show.
The auto show, Phoenix Auto Show.
How was that? I know.
I keep
I read one of your
slouching
posts
more
that
and
you'd
more.
never
Let's just-
seen,
there
or
we
you
go.
never heard NSX more.
Oh,
in
so
one day.
the auto show this year, it's obviously the first time it's been back in 2 years. So we kind of went into it expecting a little bit of a smaller show. Like OEMs are having a hard time. Like Honda wasn't there, Acura wasn't there, Lexus wasn't there, Mazda wasn't there. And we had people coming up to us and asking, "Where are they?" And I'm like, "I don't work here. I'm sorry, I don't know." But for the most part, from what we understood, is that a lot of these OEMs actually don't have any demo cars available because they're just all sold. Everything is just sold, so they don't have anything. We are we were actually able to see the Toyota Corolla GR in person though, and
Oh,
if
yeah.
I could get my
Is
hands
that
on
out?
one of
Is that
those,
available yet? Or
it's they're taking deposits now. If I could get one for
Oh,
MSRP,
okay.
I'd buy in a heartbeat. But I've been seeing 20K, 30K markups. It's not going to happen, which is a suck. It sucks because they could sell crap tons of that car at MSRP. I would still probably buy a Type R over it, based on the pricing schedule. Um, and then based on a couple things. For daily driver, the Type R is bigger. It's just definitely a bigger car. What's up, Mr. Justin?
Oh, hey.
Yeah,
What's
hey
going
girl,
on,
hey.
Justin? I will say
though,
though,
when it comes to like limited emissions test related signals or any of that stuff, you have like essentially that was what Brian was talking about a few lives ago. Was they have to be willing to go into emissions stuff, and from what Brian said he had seen, at least for that part, is AEM doesn't really care to go into anything emissions wise. Where Honda is actually looking into giving emissions. What was it called?
Carbs. The
Carb, yeah,
getting
carb legal
the carb
tunes
numbers,
and
yeah.
carb legal swaps taken care of, but they're doing all the legwork to do it. Which AEM being so universal, I doubt they're going to care to make something emissions for the car because
I mean,
according to emissions, every car is different.
I mean,
so.
realistically, right off the bat, standalone ECUs weren't for use on the road anyways, so it's just not a huge market for them. Like things like Motec and all that, they're all worried about race cars, which is really the predominant market. And half the people who are putting this stuff on are already avoiding emissions anyways, so there's that second half to it. Yeah, aiming
Yep.
for what emissions? Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah,
what.
that's where
what
I live. No emissions.
emissions. Um, yeah. So the show was it wasn't a disappointment. It was good to see who did come out. It was good to see, manufacturers trying, but it was definitely more lackluster. I noticed that they were down. There's 4 halls they use normally. They only were using 2 of them. That's how few it
Oh
instruct.
wow, yeah.
And usually, when we go, we're actually the only club section. That's usually just WL has this little 3,000 square foot club section. They had 2 other club sections that were much larger than ours because they needed to fill the show. They just did not have the sport. Um, but the people generally, for the most part, seemed to enjoy it. They really came over, and we spent. I think I handed out something like me and Dawn and Dana. We handed out something like 1,000 brochures for Podium Club, and all my business cards are gone. All my hero cards are gone. So there was definitely people out there, and people always enjoy the race car section. They enjoy seeing that, or they absolutely hate it, which was great too. Which is it's equally as fun to me.
Yeah.
It's we actually got this little video. We actually had a GoPro sitting up on top of one of the shelves for a while, and there's this video of this little young. It was a time lapse, so it was really quick. But a little like probably 5-year-old comes up and runs and hugs the front of the car, and then her mom comes and pulls her off because there's a bunch of no touching signs on it, which we didn't really care that much. And then she comes running back and hugs it again before mom comes back and drags her away a second time.
Yeah.
It's like maybe 4 or 5 seconds on film, but it's hilarious. We'll probably have to get that uploaded and make it a meme or something.
Or a GIF or something.
Yeah. It's absolutely adorable.
Actually, you talking about like some people not liking the race cars?
Yeah.
That reminded me. So, what was it? Over a year ago, it was around the time when we first opened up as U-Wrench, right, where we could let people come in and work on their stuff. A guy wanted to come and do his own hybrid battery at our shop.
Okay.
And we messaged him back and we were like, sorry, we don't have the equipment to be able to do that. That was my nice way of saying no. Right? And then he replied and he said, what if I buy all the equipment for you? And I was like, no, I don't want some Joe Schmo off of the street changing some 400 voltage battery with a chance of him electrocuting himself. And he made this whole hubbub about it, and he was like, "Well, what about fossil fuel cars? Those are." And he had to use the term fossil fuel cars, but
right, of course.
He was like, "What about fossil fuel cars? Those things are dangerous." And I was like, "Yeah, except you can touch both leads on a battery on a fossil fuel car,
right?
And anything that would hurt you in a fossil fuel car is that special term that you like everybody likes is called gross negligence. You've done something completely stupid, where on an electric car, you don't have to do any of that." And so I shared with him I think it's the EPA. They actually have a thing where anyone working on a hybrid or electric vehicle has to be certified to work on it. Is what this thing said, and then he gave us a review about, or like a 1-star review. He actually made us a Yelp because we didn't have one.
Oh God.
To leave us a 1-star
Wait,
review.
is that the
about
guy?
How we're,
I thought
that
you.
is the one that you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they actually took down most of the people that commented on that because so many people gave us good reviews within like 2 days.
Right.
They took down most of the reviews, but it was just one of those things where I was like, bro, just if you don't like paying the price of your electric vehicle, just get rid of it.
Right. It's. I was actually looking on your. I can't even see your Yelp anymore. Is it gone? Is it still there?
No, I don't know. It might be there.
I just
But
can't.
no, the batteries are up there in the hundreds of voltages, and that's why the amperage will take you out on those batteries. Where, a regular car battery being 12
You
volts,
wrench.
it ain't gonna be able to push enough through you.
You wrench. Now you got a 4.0, so you're on the up and up.
Yeah, we got a 4 because they gave us 4 5-stars. they left 4 5-stars.
Got it.
Or we've had a few random ones throughout the few
Excuse me.
months, but yeah,
Oh my God, these freaking allergies are killing me, dude.
drink some water or something.
I would, but I've been drinking all day. I'm freaking done. What is it? Here we go.
Oh,
Owners.
yeah,
Owner.
5
There it is.
classes to be able to touch them.
You got the owers, not the owners. The owers stuck on fossil fuel cars that destroy our planet and people. I offered to give them equipment to work on electric cars, and they said no, because polluting cars are their pride and joy, spelled incorrectly, I might add, and then not changing to non-polluting cars, and then are not, and then are not, and then are not. This guy probably had a stroke. Sorry to all the people who actually had a stroke. I did not mean that offensively, but he might have had a stroke.
It's just that
We thank you for your
things didn't
attempt
go
to
well
review.
for him typing. But we looked at his other reviews because of course on Yelp you can look at what other people
Right.
say, and that's
every one of his reviews is literally
Here, let's look at some other ones.
whining
We
and
got
crying because something didn't.
We
happen.
got Lifestyle Hearing Solutions. Lifestyle sells Signia hearing aids, which use deceptive advertising. It does not stand behind its product. God, all this guy does is 1-star. He doesn't do anything else with his life.
No. He's just what is it? My favorite term: professional victim.
Yeah, professional victim. Yeah. What else we got here?
He's very good at that.
Oh, he downvoted Kelly Blue Book because they didn't collect battery information on his vehicle, so it's not considered in the car's value. Oh my God! And he also did the Better Business Bureau. It says best company business can buy to cheat consumers. Just say no to consumer. Oh my God, this guy.
He is an angry person.
Oh my God.
I hope someone gives him a
You
hug
guys
because
should
he
go
probably
read this
needs
stuff.
it.
Just go to Yelp.com and then look at YouWrench and look at their 1-star review and then go read all these things. This is
Yeah,
this
just
is
look at
actually better
his
than
other
everything else we
reviews.
had planned. This is amazing.
This,
They said, "Don't come-
This
they
guy,
should come."
oh my god! Like we had so much fun wondering what this Granted, he's in Arizona, so he probably doesn't live in his mother's basement. But that's like he's probably 45, living in his mother's basement, so to speak, and he probably works from home because other people are
God.
icky and all that other stuff.
That guy's wild, dude. I can't even. That was so much fun right there. Oh my God. Was a really joke. Yeah, I agree. The BB is a joke for sure, but holy crap.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's
So I'm
like,
with
the
Justin. I'm with Justin. I typically only do 5-star or 1-star. I am the same way, and I generally will give anybody who's got a 4-star or a 5-star anyways, because as long as they try, I really don't care.
Yeah.
I get it. People are more often to leave angry reviews or really positive reviews. You either have to be going above and beyond, or you have to be just absolutely not trying at all. But I mean,
Right. I mean,
you
the
guys
other thing, too-
told them why. It wasn't like you just said no, f off, and get out of here. You told them exactly why you
Right.
can't do it and why it's not possible, and you said no to the business. It's not like you attempted to do it and then backed out. You literally just said no, we don't do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to hop on. It's essentially the one thing that like kind of bothered me the most was that this guy was able to leave a review about us, even though he
wasn't
had
a customer.
never and probably will never be a customer.
Exactly. I've got a couple. I think we've got 2 Google 1-star reviews. One of them was never a customer. He was just He was doing jumping on the bandwagon with that stupid kid with the Integra a couple of years ago. It was yeah, just stupid crap. But it's wild.
Yeah, it's like, you know, they don't have to prove that they're a customer. Like, you know,
No.
I've wanted to leave 1-star reviews, but it's like,
I didn't do
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
I had gone somewhere, I had wanted them to try to fix whatever happened. Like I had
Right.
tried, you know, I gave them every benefit of the doubt, and then it still didn't go well. Which, you know, that's kind of the way I see it. But then again, I think this guy's also probably one of those ones where, you know, if he's at a restaurant and they don't refill his water fast enough, they're going to get a 1-star review.
Right. Yeah. I just I just looked. I mean, we got just those 2 from that one customer. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
What'd Mike say?
He said that he went to reactivate his Yelp. Just
Ah,
to leave a
yeah,
5-star review.
attaboy. That's what's like. Any thoughts on ABS retrofit to race cars? So, yes, actually, but I don't know if you just caught. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the rules, Brandon, on Super Touring, because you're probably not going to do Honda Challenge. But yeah, in Super Touring, they just made it a rule, I think into ST2 even, that you cannot put non-factory ABSs on there except for the MK60, but only with the factory map. You cannot have it flashed with the race map. Yeah, because I've been thinking about doing the MK60 for a while. Granted, I don't really care. I could give 2 shits. I'm not out to do ST2 anymore. But I like the class properly. I'll probably still do the MK60, but put the standard map on it. But yeah, that's I think a modern ABS system is really the way to go for any track car. I mean, people, even just from the cost savings point of view, like I spend so much money with flat spotted tires over a year that I could just, you know, if I just had a decent ABS system in there that was working. For the NSX, for instance, the ABS is so terrible. Like, you can actually feel the pulses go dunk, 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 dunk. It's awful. But the S2000 one is
I
quite
want
good.
to say it's like
05 and back was horrible ideas. It was like just enough to keep you from skidding
Sliding
into
a
another
wall.
car.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
the modern stuff's like a
it-
performance benefit for sure.
Yeah. No, I remember on my FRS, I had WinMax W5 pads. I had takeoffs from Beamer World, so they were R7s, and that was it. It was just a stock FRS, and I was out at Musselman, and I came down that front straight, and I hit the brakes really late because I was starting to trust the car more. And I remember thinking, I am not going to make this corner. And then I was like, you know what, screw it. And I just turned in while you know, almost double footing it on the brake pedal,
So,
and everything took it. And I
yeah.
was like, well,
Dude,
thank
this
you,
is
ABS.
awesome.
Which is funny because if you ever have an FRS and you want to put WinMax W5 brake pads on it, if you don't have Hoosier R7s on the car, the ABS will not be able to control them.
I do think if you went for a high grade ABS like the MK60, it's totally worth doing that. The S2000 one is good, but I don't think it's quite there. It's very good though.
For a long time, which granted, I know there's, you know, a lot of stuff, and this was also something I heard probably 12 years ago or something, but one of my favorite things that I heard a long time ago was ABS is a crutch for the talentless.
I used to, you know, I used to be on board with that. I used to be, but like the modern ABS is so good that, especially like the MK60 with the motorsports package. The beauty of that one is it could do the front wheels independently. So if you take a corner and you lock up the inside, it'll just ABS the inside without ABSing the outside, which actually does provide more grip that way.
When it goes somewhere like that, but I'm sure you understand too, especially when you come from like a front-wheel drive world, is if it's a OEM map on an OEM system and you tripod,
Terrible.
sorry bro, you have now lost every bit of anything you had for that lap, and good luck.
Yeah, so like Mike said, you can obviously threshold brake well in turn, but what the problem will be you can't threshold brake in turn.
You can't threshold.
But the problem is that if you are trying to threshold brake into a turn, the load on the right versus the left, especially depending on sway bar size, the inside tire has significantly less grip, which means you can only threshold brake at the limit of the inside tire, which is not as good as if you could smash the brake.
Any traction.
Yeah, and let the inside wheel just take care of itself with ABS, and the right side just doesn't care. So I'm
No,
all for ABS.
It's a potato.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing where like I've told people, I'm like, well, ABS is outlawed in Formula One for a certain reason because it can
It does
be very
make it
good.
faster. Yeah, it can make it faster.
If you go out and buy an '01 Chevy Cavalier, the ABS is not going to help you in any way, shape, or form on a racetrack.
My brain just had a skipping moment.
It's okay.
Huh.
We're on shooting the shift.
That's
This is
true.
Episode 14.
So I'm glad that you guys are getting some good ideas for stuff to talk about because that's definitely that's well, the whole goal of this was to actually talk more with you guys and less about our
Yes.
preconceived notions because then we could just push them down to the next show. Because the
I'm
next
good
time,
with that.
so not this time, the next time, Andrew definitely said he'll be not sick and actually join us, which would be great. Hi,
Yes,
Andrew.
and I think so.
And
Next week we
I
have,
want to do that data dive with him. I want to talk about data and things
Yes.
like that and really get into depth with that.
I'm really
so we-
curious on that too.
so
I
we
had
talked
someone
to-
that,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I had someone that wanted to help me out with data because I guess they review data and whatnot,
Mhm.
and they wanted to help me out with iRacing.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I wasn't going out much, and I don't have any like special sensors on the CRX other than a transponder.
Okay.
And so they were like, "Well, if you could
Send me stuff from iRacing, and then my steering wheel broke, so I didn't get to send them anything. Plus, unfortunately for anyone who might try to help me with data stuff in iRacing, I am horrible with computers. If you don't hold my hand, we're not going to get there.
I would
But
say,
yeah, no.
like I said, the data on the iRacing is definitely worth looking into. I still, as much as I've done sims, I still can't get into it to the level that I can with a full size car. But I think, honestly, the thing that helps me the most with driving is actually usually the day. I think we talked about it before. I just sit there and I focus on it the night before, and I just run it over and over in my head, and I talk to myself about what I'm going to do, and then I try to really translate that onto the racetrack as much as I possibly can, and it helps. Like I said, that last time I was out there and dropped 2.5 seconds was purely just because right before I went out there, I sat there on grid, and I was just thinking about it, and going, when your brain says to let off the gas, just keep going, just go a little longer, try it out, and it got to the point, like those S's at the Podium Club, once I get past the second, there's a left, then a right is the second part. Once I get to the apex of the second one, I'm just short shifting in the fourth and matting it and just trusting the car will stick. And dude, that was such a large amount of time. Yeah, the adrenaline definitely keeps me going, Justin. That's definitely a huge piece of it.
I will say though, like, so with sim racing or like, driving with people like other sim rigs and stuff like that, I've done quite a few, and there was only really one where I was like, oh my god, this was like everything. But it was a Simcraft, like $45,000 unit with the whole cage moving and everything like that. And I actually drove a 2011 Williams F1 car at Road Atlanta. Road Atlanta. And coming down and coming up through the S's before you head back to the left, and you have the straight before you get to the big
between 6 and 7.
Yeah. So coming through there where it's got like a little bump, right? And I felt that and everything, and I felt the car like shimmy, and I was able to like keep it under me wall flat in the F1 car.
Okay.
And I did a like on the iRacing for that because it was at the Apex show years ago, and I was able to do a 1 minute point or a 1 minute 9.0.
I think the real car is a 105 or something? Like in real life?
It was like,
that's pretty good.
Like I think I looked up like the record there or whatever. It was like a 105 or 106.
Yeah, like the F2000.
And so that was kind of like a little pat on my back, which
Nice.
was 10 years ago. And
until then, I hadn't had anything close to really feeling that until I got my sim set up, which is actually in the other room. I'm going to move it over here sometime, but and get back into it. But it's a Fanatec, wheel or whatever. So it's got like a decent amount of feel for how you're going into corners and feedback and bumps and stuff like that. But I have a VR.
Yeah, so VR made it work for me. I am actually terrible on iRacing without VR. I am that guy that just plows into everything.
Yep, I can't judge anything without VR.
Well, the braking distance is so difficult.
Yeah, and then I have what are they? The Fanatec version 3.0 pedals, so that the pedal has adjustment and it's squishy and it's firm, and you can
Right.
adjust it to where it feels like it. Like so, I can actually get it to where like I feel like that threshold braking and stuff like that because I've done some like spec ND Miata stuff
Right.
in there, or I guess they're the Miata Club or whatever it is. But doing that, like going through stuff and like bumping into people and all that stuff, it feels more real, which helps with the adrenaline because you're kind of immersed in it.
Right.
And then the other thing that I really love about it, which kind of it immerses you, is there's been times where I've had an off and I'm like, oh, I'm sitting there in my little sim rig and I'm like, oh, who's coming? And it does everything for you, so it's really cool, like kind of immersing it. So if you're going to do anything sim racing and you're kind of like us where you have done many days out on a real track, the VR really helps. And I will say I'm really bad with car sickness, and I haven't gotten car sick with the VR.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, I don't think I have ever either, which has been really like that was something I expected, but it didn't end up happening, which was pretty awesome. I do still try to use it for like previewing tracks I've never been to. I go over to Dan Erickson's house occasionally. I don't know if you remember him. He's the guy who owns Podium Club, but he's got a full motion rig in his garage that's got all the bumps and all that. So on iRacing, I feel like immersed enough that I can actually spend some time learning as opposed to being distracted by trying to figure out what I'm seeing. That's always been my struggle, is not actually understanding what I'm seeing.
Well, the depth is super hard without.
Right. Did you ever play Project Cars 2?
I have not.
That I think actually has the best immersion without VR, because they do a lot of weird things like they blur the sides, they give you an impression of speed, and like
Okay.
they and when you go into corners, before you even do inputs, the camera pans slightly to the right or slightly to the left to let you look through the corner.
Oh yeah.
These little tiny details, and then under braking, it has a whole bunch of progressive sounds that help a lot too, with the tire noise. So you can kind of and also vibrates the brake paddle just a little bit. Like they did an amazing job on making it work so well as a non VR rig. And then when you put the VR rig on all that, it's actually a ton of fun. I just wish more people were into it. I don't even know if I think they're on Project Cars 3 now. I have no idea. But the only problem I ever had the only reason I didn't get into that game is they didn't have an NSX, and it drove me nuts. So I could never actually. Yeah, I couldn't find any. They didn't have a car that was kind of an equivalent to what I was doing. They had, they had either supercars or slow cars, and I did nothing in between. And so that's the only reason I gave up on it as using it as a simulator. But it was just a ton of fun. I still find myself playing Gran Turismo the most.
Honestly, I actually. My memories on Facebook are definitely not as bad as yours, but around this time was when Gran Turismo 5 came out, and I went and got it, and I hadn't played Gran Turismo since 3. I never really played 4, and I had played Forza for since the first one, so I was diehard Forza or whatever, and by the time Gran Turismo 5 came out, I started doing the licenses, and I started getting all gold in the licenses, and I was doing because I missed that thing that they had in Gran Turismo, and then I remember I had a few cars, and I was realizing that you don't get the driver cockpits in Gran Turismo, and like for whatever reason in Gran Turismo 5 on PlayStation 3 it never felt as immersed, right?
Sure.
That's kind of what I had in 3. It was just a racing game on there where they said it was a simulator, but when Forza came out, Forza was more towards like, I got my little controller here, but like as you're giving it gas and you're like twisting it down, you're like you're going right, and with the PlayStation 3, the triggers don't feel as good, and they're really clunky.
Yeah,
and the same thing when what you're talking about the braking, like you're braking and you start feeling the little rumble happen on this side only because that's how the controller is done, and you get more of an immersion into it. And with Gran Turismo 5, like I didn't get any of that, and so I was like, you know what? Because like around that time when it was happening, like I would go on to Forza with friends and I would drift. And this was before they had like a drifting mode in Forza. You just went out and you tuned a car and you went out and drifted. And I was like, all right. So I went in there and I made a car in Gran Turismo 5.
and I turned off all traction control. I turned off everything so that it was just the car, and I set up everything, alignment wise, and I went out on scuba. And
I was in a 190 horsepower Hachiroku on like 225s, and I had like -2 or whatever camber in the rear, like like something like, okay, I'm going to have to try, right?
Right.
It was like glass. Like literally, I like in Forza, like if I had a 1,000 horsepower car
on the cheapest tires you could pick that were the skinniest tires with like as much camber as actually possible, Forza felt like I had more grip than what Gran Turismo 5 gave me with traction control turned off.
Gotcha.
Which I was like, how is this? And like essentially, I played Gran Turismo 5 for like 4 days while I was off. I had a 4-day weekend or whatever back then.
And so I played Gran Turismo religiously. Like I'd wake up and play it, and then
at that point, I posted everything up for sale and got rid of my PlayStation 3 because I was like, man, I haven't played Gran Turismo 6. I heard that they did a lot better with everything in the newer
6 is
PlayStations
good.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with Gran Turismo 5, it was just a huge letdown for me.
Yeah, 5 and Prologue were not it for me either. I do agree.
Yeah, it was just weird. And then like Forza had gotten into like tire physics and like the tires moving and stuff like that. It was getting closer to before Project Cars came out and stuff like that. And then they started getting like they actually started realizing that people want a realistic racing game, and that's iRacing obviously was out back then too, but I don't know, like after having the sim rig and everything and getting into iRacing, like it's kind of hard for me to like go back to Forza. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. It definitely feels more arcadey.
Yeah,
and that's always something that's bound to happen. There's always improvements, and I flip flop back and forth a few times. I haven't played iRacing in about a year though. I think
actually same.
Yeah, I might jump on there for some Circuit of the Americas, but the same problem is I can't find good simulations for what I'm doing, so I try not to build models in my head of stuff if I can't replicate it,
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was essentially just I hadn't been driving in so long, and I wanted to get back into the mindset of this is a tiny little hole where I can, drop 2 tires and get by.
So, like, I always that brings me to one last point. Maybe we can talk about. It's like somebody brought this up recently, which how much of driving do you think is mental?
Oh, it's pretty much most of it. Like, granted, like physical, like you have to be able to like essentially for wheel to wheel stuff, you have to be able to do like 30 to 40 minutes for the sprint races.
Yeah, you have the endurance portion of it.
Survive, but it's such a mental game because I think we were talking about it the other one where you have your mental blocks of you getting past like how much you're braking and stuff like that. Now add that to a car on your inside, a car coming up behind you. Like, am I braking too late? Am I going to drive off the course while they're they brake early? Am I going to brake early and they're not going to know it and slam into someone? It's mostly mental.
I'd say it's 70, 80, 90% mental for sure. It's
I was going to say 80.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I'm
think,
also not the greatest with math, but
I mean, for me, I have to watch a lot of times. I definitely have to eat the right food before the night before I have to be carved up or something. Just have the energy because it's pretty physical. And I think if you're physical, if you physically start getting tired, then your mental is part of that too. If you're not ready physically, your mental is going to check out as well.
Well, it's one of those things where I say when it comes to circuit driving, time attack or wheel to wheel, it's probably 10% car, 10% your build or your health, right? Like how you drive through everything, or your endurance, and then the last 80% is your mind being able to get you through everything and being able to take certain situations in and be able to react to them.
Right.
Which I know, when you get to a point where most of it is subconscious, which is, why your mind is a big part of it, because you think about it afterwards and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm glad I did that. But it just happens while you're in the moment.
Yeah, I think I spend myself. I've noticed I've spent more time these days working on my mental preparedness versus my. I used to be a little bit more about exercising and stuff like that, and thinking that would help, which it does. It does have a performance advance, enhancement. Obviously,
It gives you a nice after.
yeah, just feeling
You're
good
not
when you get out
done.
is nice. But I've noticed that if I'm not mentally prepared, I pretty much can just call it a day before I even on track. And whenever I'm all my mistakes happen when I'm not mentally ready. Like if something's not quite right or I'm tired, that's where all my mistakes occur anyway. So I've started to become more cognizant and watching that a lot more than I used to.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to also to what Justin was talking about too, because like, it's a mental game when you have that much adrenaline going through you.
Right. You do have to really dial in the focus and just make sure you're. For me, the thing that always gives it away if I'm not like there anymore is if I'm not looking through the corners anymore. If I stop focusing through the corners and I catch my head not turning anymore, I know that I've already backed out enough mentally that I probably should get off the track at that point.
Yeah, it's. I mean, at least for me, there's been times where it's like a refocusing point.
Yeah, we got to just get back into it. Or like a lot of times, that's when I go nap for a while. That's the best thing about not having to do with race group is you just go nap whenever you want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like. So one of my favorite ones was we were at Auto Club Speedway, and I had qualified first. So we went out. Ken Adelberg was second. Marcel de Keppel was third, and Gabe Ortega was fourth. And then there was like 8 or 9 people in our class as it went down. And actually, it's one of my favorite pictures, which is us going into turn 3, and there are 7 cars in the picture.
Turn 3, is that the right-hander after the straightaway? Turn 2 is the left, and then right-hander right after that.
Technically, NASCAR 1 and 2, and then
okay.
Turn 3 is into the infield.
Left. Okay, so it's the left.
Yeah, the left into the infield, and I love that picture just because you can see the nose of Leland coming into the corner, and I have to tell everybody there's 7 cars in that the single corner. It's not like an S or whatever. It's just car
right.
Like that one corner has 7 cars. And it's just one of those things where that entire race, like I knew Ken and Ken, Marcel and Gabe were all as hard as they could to catch me, and I'm essentially the last kid who's not the zombie in the game of zombies on a school playground running for their life to try to stay away from everybody.
Right.
And it was a rush. It was a worry. It was planning. I guess one of the big things that's mental about it for a race group is planning when to pass lapped traffic and trying to plan and figure out when a lapping car is going to be passing you because we're multiple classes.
Right.
So we don't get the luxury of just having our own people out there
right.
like F1 does.
We actually we wanted to start
ridiculous.
Implementing in Time Attack. I've talked about this with a couple local guys, and I want to see if we can get it implemented on a larger scale. We want to start putting the green and the red lights on the cars. We wanted to start putting a green light on the front of all cars and then a green and a red on the back of all cars. And if you're on a fast lap, have a switch that turns on both green lights. That way you can see someone coming up in your mirror. If they got green light flashing, that means they're on a hot lap. So that means if you're not on a hot lap, get the heck, it just helps people know. Yeah, and then also on the back of our car, I wanted to have a red light flashing, so that way if we see a red light flashing, you know that they're not on a hot lap.
Oh, so you can keep going. You don't have to worry about them.
Right, you know that they see you and that they are on off lap and that they're going to help you. It'd just be an easy way to communicate. It's something I've been wanting to do. What is that? Oh, is that the picture?
So that's the picture of me, and you can see Leland's nose next to my car.
I see 6 cars. Is there 7 or 6?
Oh, 4, so 5, there's 6. Or who is that?
I think I see 6.
No, I'm sorry. Marcel's nose is right there by my car.
Okay, that's Marcel. Got it on the right side there.
Yeah.
Got
Where'd
it.
you go? Oh, yeah. So there's
oh, I
Jason,
see it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's Ken. That's Carla. That's Leland, me, Gabe, and then Marcel over here, right above my nail.
Got it.
That was such a fun race. I say fun, but like during it, it was anything but fun because I was just trying to get away as much as I can. Let's talk wheel to wheel versus time attack.
All right, that's it. That's an easy one there. So let's first off, you always got to break time attack and TT apart because they are not the same thing. That's a common
They are not.
that's a common thing that they get looped together, but they're really not. There's a lot of places that treat them the same way, but that's not the same. So time attack, the primary difference with time attack is there basically are no rules. They give you a tire limit and they give you some other minor limits per class, but the idea is to build a car. It's a builder's series. It's not to be fair either. That's the other one that drives people nuts. It's like, oh, I can never win my class at time attack. It cost me 70 grand. You're right. You're not wrong. It's a builder's class. Sometimes you got to dump a bunch of money in it to do it. That's why it's a different thing. Where time trials is 100% class based, trying to make it as competitive as possible and close. So I think I typically get pretty bored with TT myself. I stopped doing TT after doing wheel-to-wheel racing because I enjoyed the wheel-to-wheel racing. The only reason I stopped wheel-to-wheel racing is I did not want to get punted in the side of my door in my chassis, so it just became not practical anymore.
Yeah.
With the time attack stuff, though, I find if you're getting bored with time attack, that means you're not trying anything new anymore. You've stopped building, you've stopped mentally preparing, you've accepted whatever limits you're at. I find that, so this is, I think, my 6th year doing time attack, and there's not been a single year that I haven't found some improvement that I could find, whether tweaking the car or tweaking my own brain to do something differently. Yeah. It's always
that goes
faster.
to the builder's part.
The builder side of things, for the most part, whether the builder is me or the car. Obviously, we made giant changes last year, which got me more reinvigorated. Because I've been running the same setup for like 5 years, and I had pretty much maxed it out, and it wasn't going to go any faster without a major change. So I had been saving up for that major change. We made the major change, and it's now changing quite a bit. So I think that one's a very broad topic, but I think the definition of time attack is actually what is the more interesting conversation piece there, because that is a hotly contested debate. Ask the time attack, ask the Grid Life guys, and we can talk about Sunday Cup and whether it's time attack or not. And it's not whether it's. I think it's time trials, which is fine. I don't really give a crap if they call it time attack. It doesn't matter to me. I give 2 craps. I don't want it to be gateway-ish or something like that, where it's gatekeeping. It's really not in the spirit of time attack. Time attack's never been about fair. It's never spec racing. Yeah. It's always
well,
unfair.
Yeah, like how Will went out with the Civic in what was it, 2016?
Yeah, just took the Civic. Yeah, he took the Civic out and slogged everybody.
Yeah, like 700-800 horsepower Civic with big wings.
That's in the same class as somebody who just put too large of a wing on their car. Like it's not fair. It's
no,
it's not designed to be that way. The rules are to pursue time. The focus of time attack is the time, not the cars, not the competitors. It's can we knock that time barrier down in any method? It's cool to break records. It's cool to get on the podium. Those are all great and fun and dandy, but that's the difference. Is the spirit of time attack is the achievement of going faster lap times. Like when people bust down the unlimited lap records, dude, everyone's ecstatic because it's an achievement. It's massive. And the class records, too. The individual class records, seeing the street records get so fast, seeing the unlimited records get so fast. I would say that's the primary difference. Like getting a lap record in a TT event, they're not going to shave it more than a tenth off usually. It's going to be tight. Once that record's set for that class, the rules keep the time limited to that record. It's very rare do you have it be reset by a massive margin. It's not very common anyways, unless it was a very soft record to begin with.
Yeah, like they had only been to that track one time or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So like the class records at Podium Club, for instance, next time are going to drop because that track's gotten so much faster since NASA was there. But yeah, that's my take on it. I don't know what your take on it is, but I think that's the one thing that when you talk about those 3 topics, you have to define time attack. If you don't define it,
it's 3 different ones.
Yeah.
Not time attack and time trial, and then wheel to wheel.
Yeah, and that's
wheel time attack time trial.
And that's why I think when you talk about stuff like Sunday Cup, unfortunately, it causes a bit of a rift. Now I have no problem with it. I think it's a great class. I love watching Sunday Cup. I think it's some of the best stuff out there. But it does follow a more traditional time attack format, which is fine. Or I mean, a time trial format.
I think at least for you, me, or me, Ravi, and Justin, for wheel to wheel being like what he said, a home run, where the other 2 feel like kind of like third base. Being you get much more satisfaction being in a class
and competitively racing people or getting to know them, and then you get, depending on, if you're in a smaller class with cheaper cars, rubbing is racing for sure, and then you get to something where you're more in Robbie's, where you would be in ST2. Everyone does care more about their cars because they cost more.
Yeah.
But they still get in there. It's a little bit more of a rush, where the other one, as I've said before, Time Attack Time Trial, you get kind of princesses, where people get super angry that someone didn't get out of the way. Where in Wheel to Wheel, if someone doesn't get out of the way and you're mad about it, why are you in Wheel to Wheel?
Right. That's the whole point, is position based. My
Exactly.
favorite thing
So-
is when time trial directors rewrite the rules to benefit themselves.
That's
That's a fun one.
I guess that
turns into princesses, right?
I think
Or I guess they turn into queens.
I
At that
think those
point,
are
but-
queen bees. Well, we have hit our 7 o'clock, so let's call it a night. And then, who are we going to try to get on next week?
Next week was I'm going to try to get Gabe, who is
Mr. Ortega?
the Honda Challenge coordinator.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's going to be great. And I think I still need to speak with Brian. I think we're almost ready to be able to do 2 people here, which will be fun as well, actually, on studio and
cool.
back the camera up. So that'd be kind of cool. So I
That'll
think
be
about
nice.
5
I
or
gotta talk to Clayton again because
Yeah, we'll take Clayton on
he was
again.
going to be last week, but
And we should reach out to Jeff again as well. So we had a few people stick through the whole thing again. Appreciate you guys as always. You probably are diehards, and thanks for actually interacting on the chat. We always appreciate that. And I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday and are geared up towards the next one, because it's going to come faster than not. But the year is almost over already. I can't believe it.
definitely exciting, and looking forward to next year. But let's finish this one out with a bang.
Cool. Well, as always, I'll see you next week, sir. And thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you.